Is it a good idea to photograph a wedding of a friend or a family member? I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to tell you four things that you absolutely have to do if you photograph a friend or family member's wedding. So, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I built my business on my friends and family. No, I really did. Starting off as a wedding photographer, I was fresh out of university and my friends were getting married and I photographed all my friends' weddings. It was a huge part. No, at the beginning, it was all my friends. It was either my friends or my friends' friends. That was all the weddings that I shot. Even for the first couple of years, it was all people that knew me really well and then at least knew me to some extent after that. So I'm very pro shooting your friends' weddings, especially in the beginning as you start off your wedding business. And I think it's good for two reasons. So the first reason is, well, they know you. Booking a wedding is hard because you need a lot of trust in order to get someone to shoot your wedding. And the great thing about family and friends is that, well, they trust you. Hopefully. The second reason why I think it's good is because that you know them. You know that they aren't crazy people, that they're a nice couple that you know that you're friends with. And if you're not a crazy person, you are going to work really hard. You're going to try really hard to make sure that you do a good job photographing their wedding. And I think that's actually it's an important motivation in there, especially as you start off, because you genuinely care about your clients, not just as clients, but as friends as well. So it's like a built-in motivator to do a really good job really early on. I think it's different when you're learning how to run a business and you're learning how to deal with clients for the first time. There's a different learning curve when you have someone that you've just never met before and you're shooting their wedding versus shooting your best friend's wedding, right? And really, it's cool. It's really fun and cool to photograph your friends' weddings. I photographed so many of my close friends' weddings and is the best memories. You get an inside look at a wedding that even if you're part of the bridal party or just a guest, you don't get to see any of those things. And I loved being on the inside when I photographed people that were close to me. And so those are the two reasons why I think it's really good to shoot friends and family, especially when you're starting out. Over the years, I have still photographed friends and family weddings, and I still think it's great. And now in my business, shooting friends and family is a very small portion of my business. Now, by far, most of the people that I photograph, I'm meeting for the first time. And that's where you want to get eventually, because ultimately you're going to run out of people that you know personally. But I think when you start with your friends and family, it builds such a great foundation for building a business. Okay, so you've heard me so far and you're like, wow, Luke, shooting friends and family is amazing. I'm going to go do this right now. It's going to build my business. It's going to be incredible. Okay, so yes, it is great. But things can get weird real fast. And that's why, I get so many questions about this. This is why people feel so weird about it, because you're mixing business and personal relationships. It feels very weird, and it can get weird if you're not careful. So here are four things that you absolutely have to do when you're working with friends and family. And it doesn't have to be weird. That's the great thing. If you do these four things, then you have a really good chance of having a great experience with shooting these weddings. The first thing is to set very clear expectations. Find out about what they want in detail, what they want, and also make sure you describe what your process is, what you provide, and make sure that both of you know exactly what is going to happen. It is easy to skip some of these conversations because you already know the person. You're like, oh, I know you. We don't have to like do it. No, you do. You absolutely, you have to sit down. You have to get on Zoom. You have to meet each other at a coffee shop and make sure that both of you are on the same expectation level. I don't think you can over communicate in this stage. It's really important to know like, hey, what do you want for your wedding photography? What do you imagine? What are you thinking I'm going to do? And making sure that you say, this is what I do. This is what I do as a wedding photographer. This can feel kind of weird. I understand that, especially when you're starting out. Something that I used to say, because it made me feel so weird to be like, let's have a consultation with someone that I've known since my childhood or whatever. I used to say, well, like, okay, you know what? I'm testing out my full client experience on you if I was just beginning. Even if I was in business for a few years, I would still say, hey, I know you're my friend and maybe this is going to be kind of funny, but I want to give you the full Cleland experience, okay? I'm not going to skip anything with you. So let's do this, this, and this, okay? Because there is a relationship there ahead of time, you almost need to go overboard a little bit in being clear on all of these points. It's because when you know someone, you have so much trust in them already that it's easy to be like, oh no, I trust you. Like it's going to be fine. But I think this is like one of the main areas where things can break down. When shooting a wedding and you shoot the wedding and then they get the wedding photos back and be like, wait, what? You didn't do this? Like I was imagining you were going to do this, but you didn't do it. And you're like, what? I never do things like that. So it can get really weird because there's a relationship there. It's great to have the relationship, but it's also easy to skip things. Don't skip these conversations about expectations. Friends will often act in kind of two ways that I've experienced. One side is like, they feel like they're your friend, so they don't want to ask you kind of anything. And they feel kind of like, just do whatever, like whatever you want to do. And they almost don't get the full experience because they feel bad in kind of like treating you as like someone that's hired, right? And then you have the other side, which is like, they feel kind of too comfortable with you and they'll just be like, oh yeah, Luke will do whatever. He'll just like Photoshop 1,000 images, like and do everything great, like be like, whoa, what's happening here? So I feel like those are kind of the two extremes that can happen with friends. So it's really important to have conversations like, this is how much I charge. This is how much it is to do extra hours. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to shoot for eternity because I'm your friend. Like, no, like this is how I do things, right? I'm not going to do 2 engagement shoots. I'm just going to do 1 engagement shoot. So making all of that clear and making sure they know it ahead of time. The second thing is make sure that you have the right hat on. What? So I love this podcast by Dave Ramsey. It's called EntreLeadership. And he talks about this a lot where he wears different hats, especially because he has family that works in his business. I think his daughter works with him quite closely and his son. And he talks about when he's at work, he has the CEO hat on and he's a CEO. And so they refer to him as, Dave. They don't say, hey, Dad, come over here. No, they say like, Dave, like, let's have this conversation about blah, blah, blah. And then when he goes home, he takes off that CEO hat and he puts on Papa Dave hat, right? He's dad, he's grandfather, whatever. And they don't have to say Mr. Ramsey at home. No, he like switches his hats. And I think this is a really important concept for when you work with people that you know. So I know that kind of might feel formal to you, but it's really important to show a distinction between like, this is friend time and this is, I'm a professional photographer photographing your wedding. Number 3 is decide on pricing and discounts ahead of time. Do this before you have not just friends and family, but any client. Like decide what your price is going to be. Decide if you're going to give discounts and how much and when you're going to do that. And then stick to it. Like it's important to write these things down, to say like, put it in a document, save it on your computer and make the file named like, when someone asks for discount, read this, Luke, okay? And then put in there, say, Luke, I do not give discounts, or I give discounts only on this and I only do this percent. Like put that down so that When the moment comes, you can look in there and be like, okay, Luke at a smarter time decided to do this. He wasn't feeling emotional. He was doing what was best for the business. And then when a friend comes and asks you what your pricing is, you don't change it. You don't alter it based on each individual person. Just because they know you doesn't mean that they can tell you what to do in your business. The best way to resent your friends and family is to give them a discount that you weren't intending on giving out. There is nothing worse than doing a job and just feeling frustrated and angry when someone's asking for a discount. Because the reality is, a lot of my experiences when someone asks for a discount, they are somehow, it's often those are the people that are also asking for a lot of extra things. And so what I've decided to do is that I don't give discounts. I do full price or free. If it's a friend and they cannot afford my price at all, I would rather just do it for free if I really want to do the wedding. Because it's not just about like, how can I make as much money from my friends as possible? No, it's about actually giving them the most value. It's about making sure that they have the best experience with you and not that like, oh, you took like $1,000 off their wedding, collection. And then you're in the middle of wedding season and you're like, oh, I'm trying to edit these photos. And I have like their wedding that's like costs so much less. And then I have these other weddings that like paid me so much more. Like, and what are you going to do? You're going to work more on the higher like paid wedding than you are with the other one, even subconsciously, even if you don't mean to. When you give that discount, especially when you're not intending to, you just do it differently. And the worst scenario is that you start to become resentful and frustrated at them because it's like, oh, I'm not getting paid what I'm supposed to be getting paid on this wedding. And then you're like, why did I give a discount? And then yes, things can get horrible. And all of a sudden you can hate wedding photography and you can be frustrated at your friend. And I don't want that to happen. Number 4, write things down. No verbal contracts, no verbal handshaking. No. Write everything down. I know this feels weird. I know it will probably feel uncomfortable, but I am telling you, just write down the expectations. I'm going to shoot for these amount of hours. I'm going to give you an engagement shoot. I'm going to give you an album for these many pages, whatever. Write it down. I know it might feel weird to send a contract to a friend, but this is all about creating the difference between who you are as a friend over here when you go to a hockey game together and over here when you're the professional photographer photographing their wedding. And it's really important to make those two separate things. And by sending a contract, about sending an invoice with all the information on there, it keeps it clear for everybody so that everyone knows what's going to happen at the end of the wedding day. But it's like your friend is not going to sue you, right? You're hopefully not. The point of the contract isn't to like really give you legal protection, even though of course it does. The point of the contract is to set up a scenario where you're going to give each other mutual respect, and it sets up the time for you to be able to put on your professional photographer hat and to take off your friend hat. Okay, and I'm going to give you one more bonus point. This is point number 5, and that is if you suck as a photographer, do it for free. If this really is, you're really nervous and you feel like you don't have the skills to properly shoot this wedding, and your friend just I don't care, whatever. Like, just make sure that you tell them, okay, I'm gonna try my best, but your photos might come out blurry, or like I might only get like 5, like legit. I may only get 5 images. Are you okay with that? Over communicating how bad you are as a photographer. And if they genuinely like don't care too much and they just want to give you, a shot to shoot their wedding, that's awesome. What an incredible experience for you that you get this opportunity to shoot a wedding and you have someone that really doesn't care how it turns out. So just kind of over communicating the worst case scenario, I think is really important. And I think what that will do for you is actually take a load of stress off, because in that scenario, the expectations are so low that hopefully you blow the expectations out of the water, right? And it will take just like a certain, at least some of the stress off you, because you'll know, okay, they know what they're getting into and I'm just going to do my best. And hopefully it will turn it into more of an exciting opportunity instead of just like a super stressful opportunity where you just want to die. And then the other part of that is that if you're in that scenario where you feel genuinely nervous about your ability as a photographer, but they still want you to do it and they're asking you how much to charge, I would suggest saying, listen, I'm going to do this for free. And if you feel like you want to give me a tip at the end of it, that's great. You can just like pay whatever you want. But don't feel obligated to, I want to do this for free. I want to do this for the experience. You're my friend. I want to try to do my best, but I'm not going to charge you for anything. And if you are shooting or have shot a friend's wedding recently, let me know in the comments and tell me how it goes or how it went. Okay, bye.